Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm Spencer Sachs. Coming up on tonight's show, it's crunch time in the NBA, and the Unstoppable panel joins me to break down all you need to know. Our panelists will also take you through the latest in the NFL offseason, where there has been a number of shocking moves. Then, our team recaps the Australian Grand Prix. Plus, GW men's basketball coach Chris Caputo joins the show for an exclusive interview. And as always, stick around for Unstoppable's Top 10. All this and more on Unstoppable. Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm Spencer Sachs. Here's a quick look at some of your headlines. March Madness is underway. After an exciting week of championships across college basketball, Auburn, Duke, Houston, and Florida claimed the #1 seeds in the men's tournament, while UCLA, South Carolina, USC, and Texas hold the 1 seeds in the women's tournament. Rory McIlroy won the 51st Annual Players' Championship on Monday. McIlroy and J.J. Spaun finished the final round on Sunday tied at 12 under par. After hours of rain delays, the tournament decided to postpone the playoff round until Monday morning, breaking from the traditional Sunday finish. McIlroy ultimately got the better of Spaun, securing his second Players' Championship in 6 years. In the MLB, the regular season began in Japan on Tuesday as the Los Angeles Dodgers faced the Chicago Cubs. Opening day does not reach the U.S. until March 27th, a full 9 days after the season kicked off in Japan. The GW women's basketball team brought on a new head coach earlier this morning. Ganayat Adetuntan, the new head coach, spent the previous 4 seasons with Colgate, where she had a combined 65-61 record. And with that, let's bring in our panel, Mark Achgar, Gabe Pinsker, and Solomon Cover, to take you through the latest in the NBA. Fellas, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here. We got Gabe's first time on the show. Solomon,
Welcome to the show.
Regular at this point.
Well, let's kick it right off. We got pretenders, we got contenders. Let's start off. Who is the real contenders that we have in the NBA?
There is a group of 3 that has been the contenders most of the regular season. It's the Cavs, it's the Celtics, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Since then, we've gotten some recent additions. I think the Lakers have jumped into this mix. I think the Nuggets have kind of flirted with it. But I think those are the 5 contenders. I don't think you want to expand that group too much. I don't believe in any of these teams showing that much that they've proven to be a real contender.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it's important to put them into tiers. Like, obviously, the first 3 said the Thunder, the Cavs, the Celtics, and that tier 1. And that tier 2, I think, it's pretty broad. You have, like, honestly, half the Western Conference. That battle for the 2 seed, the play-in battle is ridiculous. And also, probably like the Knicks and Bucks you would throw in there.
I mean, like, we're talking about these teams, and the Lakers, came on incredibly hot here. I mean, take a look at what the Suns head coach had to say about this. They look like they're connected. It looks like they're covering for each other. A commitment to that end of the court, it looks to be improved. And that's what Mike Budenholzer said this past week. LeBron and Luka, they looking mighty good to start off this season, Mark.
They are, ever since the trade. Even though LeBron's been injured recently with that groin strain, Austin Reeves really stepped up. He's really looking like one of the best third options in the NBA right now. And that Laker group, the whole team looks connected on both ends of the floor. They're holding teams to under 100, 110 points. They're probably top 5 in the league right now, and they're really making that stride for the 2nd seed. And who knows, come playoff time, the West is really looking stacked right now. You never know what could happen, but I think they have a good shot against OKC in a series and pretty much anyone else in the West.
I mean, Mark, it's crazy to see this early combination we're seeing with LeBron and Luka still. I mean, look at their injuries, though. That's the one concern I have, is they have 5 guys who are injured just today alone. Like, are they able to get healthy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, coming down like late March, early April is like kind of when teams want to start ramping up for the playoffs, and I think it's important to give players some of their rest. Obviously, it's a big issue today in the NBA. Those 82 games can be grueling long term. So just giving a couple guys a days off. I know the Thunder did that recently in their past game against the Sixers. The Nuggets have rested Jokic and Murray a couple times. So I think it's just the norm in today's NBA.
Now, shifting the conversation over a little bit to the MVP race here. Who's your top #1 right here? Who are you going to say on it?
So I think it's pretty clear. It's between 2 guys, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jokic. And while Jokic has already won a couple, I still think he is the MVP of this league. If you look at the numbers, he's averaging around 30 points, 13 rebounds, and damn near 10 assists, which is both top 3 in the entire NBA. And looking at what MVP means, most valuable player, not the best player on the best team, in my opinion. That's how I like to look at it. If you were to move Jokic from the Nuggets, they would basically be one of the worst teams in the NBA. If you remove Shea from the Thunder, I think they can still be a play-in team. That's how I look at it, at least.
Mark, I got to strongly disagree there.
Please, Gabe, elaborate.
Nikola Jokic has 3 MVPs, correct?
Because he is the best player in the league.
Correct,
years,
right?
I feel like.
But we know the MVP is all about narratives, right? It's not in a vacuum. It's all about the context. LeBron got 4 MVPs and they cut him off, even though he's the greatest player of all time, right? Yeah. Nikola Jokic does not deserve the 4th MVP. That would catapult him into the GOAT discussion, which he does not deserve whatsoever. Nikola Jokic is a great player, but he's already had 3. He doesn't need it. Shea's having a great year. He's the only guy who can create offense on the Thunder, which we can get into a little bit later.
That is not true.
That if you look at the stats, that's true.
You have J-Dub, you have Chet. These guys are very well connected. Shea is not that much of a playmaker as you think he is.
If you look at the isolation stats.
Please,
Let's hear Chris Paul on this. Let's hear Chris Paul on this. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Shai should win MVP. They found a way to make everyone equal.
Exactly, everyone equal on the Thunder.
There.
Like if you're an MVP, you're above the equal norm, as Jokic is on the Nuggets.
Hold on. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has led his team to like a 13-game lead in the Western Conference. It's been wrapped up forever. He's still playing hard. That's something Jokic we know doesn't do always.
Is play hard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does not. He's not given.
He plays hard. He just makes it look easy. That's the difference out there.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his offensive game has been some of the smoothest that we've seen in the NBA in a hot second. This player, he's like as deserving of an MVP as we've ever had. But I will grant you that like when we cut LeBron off and we gave it to Derrick Rose like after his 2 MVPs in a row, it feels a little bit like that. Like Jokic,
the difference is Derrick Rose that year was ridiculous. That 20
Shai is ridiculous
and
too.
I agree. I think Shai should win it this year. But by discounting the fact that Jokic is arguably one of the best players this season, let alone one of the best players of all time. I think he truly is entering that conversation. Now, he doesn't have the finals runs. He has 1, or he's 2.
1.
He's 1. But if he gets that 4th, which remember, he's under 30. He's like 29. So this guy has a long career ahead of him, and this is what he's at now. So, is there more than 1 in his sights? Could we see a 5-time MVP Nikola Jokic?
When are we going to be allowed to talk about Nikola Jokic's defense and the lack thereof? At least Shea's out there. At least Shea's out there playing defense. He has some of the top numbers in steals in terms of the NBA. Nikola Jokic sits there in the paint. He provides no rim protection, and that's great because he makes up for it on the offensive end. But Shea is putting together a complete campaign, and if Nikola Jokic's defense is always going to prevent him from being in the conversation as the greatest player of all time. He can never reach that tier because he is just not good enough and he doesn't try on that end. And that's why Shea deserves it this year and why Nikola Jokic should never, ever win an MVP in the rest of his career.
That is absolutely. Okay, so you're capping him at 3, saying, great, he has 3, that's all he needs, right, whatever. So if he had, let's say, the best seasons of all time, the next 5 years, you think he shouldn't get all 5?
They capped LeBron at 4. LeBron's the greatest player of all time. Why can't they cap Jokic?
But the problem is that
LeBron can't win it again. He's 41.
I'm not saying he could win it now, but I'm saying he's had time to do that. But let's quickly shift the conversation. Tanking has been an absolute threat to the NBA. I think it is taking its toll. Quick thoughts. How bad is tanking?
Tanking is a problem in every sport, but the NBA has somehow made it worse than everyone else. The NBA really, they have a problem with their product. We've seen it in the All-Star game. We've seen it in players taking breaks, whatever. This is a new low though, and it's happened for a while. Don't get me wrong, to trust the process. But it's there's this. They've tried to limit the reward. They've created the lottery, right? And they've diminished the chances. Teams still don't care. They know that they're making billions of dollars every year. The owners don't care. They can take a year off, and they're fine with it. It's a problem, and I think you have to obviously you can't do it like soccer does with the relegation, but teams there try. They don't want to leave their league. They don't want to lose all that money. They don't want to lose all those fans. The NBA teams, they don't care.
Solomon, quick thoughts. Yo, one-liner. What do you think about it?
I like tanking. I find it interesting. It runs the offseason.
Yeah, you would know. You're a Sixers fan.
right,
You guys
but
are always tanking.
Mark, quick thought. Let's hear it. Tanking. How bad is it? One thought.
I mean, it's very bad for the product in the latter half of the season, but honestly, can you really blame the teams when you have Cooper Flag competing for? I mean, that guy's a stud.
Yeah. Well, with just 3 weeks to go, expect plenty more chaos to come in the NBA. The spring season is well underway, and correspondent Ashley Robinson is here to get you up to speed on the latest for GW Athletics. Ashley?
Thanks, Spencer. Men's basketball has accepted a bid to the inaugural College Crown basketball tournament in Las Vegas after losing to George Mason in the A10 tournament. This marks GW's first postseason tournament play since 2017. This year was an exciting one for the Revs, who secured a 21-12 record and played in the A10 quarterfinals. They will face off against Boise State in the first round of the Crown tournament at 5:30 p.m. on March 31st. Softball's 7-game win streak was broken with a 1-0 loss against Harvard this Wednesday. The team currently sits at 16-9 overall and 3-0 in conference play. The Revolutionaries will look to get back into the win column this Saturday against the University of Massachusetts. Track and field begins their outdoor season this week at Richmond's Fred Hardy Invitational. The Revolutionaries will compete across 10 events, kicking off with the women's 1,500-meter run at 11:40 and ending with the men's 200-meter dash at 4. The meet will be available to stream on ESPN+. Spencer?
Ashley Robinson, thank you. Now let's bring our NFL panel, Mark Achkar, Rami Hanaj, and Brick, for their takes on the NFL offseason. Well, we've seen a lot of moves really quickly. We've seen so many things, and we're still waiting for a couple more. But what was the biggest move you've seen in this offseason? Brick, let's start with you.
I got to go with the Browns re-signing Myles Garrett. I mean, that's a record-breaking contract, and quite frankly, I don't know if they should pay him. With the way their season went last year, I think it's a waste of money. I think they need to allocate into multiple other areas of their game.
I mean, that team has definitely got problems. I saw a couple articles saying that they should have traded him because the amount that they could have gotten back would have actually jump-started a rebuild, which is what they need to do.
Absolutely.
Rami, what's your biggest move so far this offseason?
Listen, that was definitely a big move from Myles Garrett. I got to go with my guys up in the Pacific Northwest, the Seattle Seahawks. They've been moving everybody around. Let me give you a quick recap. They got rid of Geno Smith. They got rid of DK Metcalf. They got rid of Tyler Lockett. That's about $70 million, give or take, in cap space. And so then they added on a whole new offense. They got Sam Darnold. They got Cooper Kupp. They got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, which you can laugh about that, but he won Super Bowl MVP, so whatever. And then you can also get Uchenna Nwosu restructured contract, and then a bunch of guys on defense restructuring their contracts as well to save more cap space. I absolutely love what the Seahawks have been doing. I think they're going for a younger offensive core, and everyone's like, oh, $100 million for Sam Darnold, that's a big risk. I agree. But
I love
after
the move.
this year,
I'm such a fan of that
After this year, they have no guaranteed money to him, so he can just leave if he sucks. And so that's the beauty of the deal. I think we're going to go and win the division.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Seahawks are up there, but in terms of just sheer volume movements, a former Seahawk in itself, DK Metcalf for the Steelers, that humongous contract. I mean, who knows what's going to happen there?
No, for sure. I mean, players are taking pay cuts around the league, to make these salary cap moves, as you were saying. Josh Allen did too. That's a huge pay cut. What's $5 million more going to do for my life that I can't already do right now? I live a pretty good life, got a house, got a car. He also didn't include, he just got engaged this offseason as well. So that's a team player right there. That's the type of moves that really propel teams. As we've seen, let's say Ohtani with the Dodgers, taking $2 million now so the team can use it, right? So do we think that the Bills are a type of team that are that one piece away, or do they still need to make moves this offseason?
I think the Bills need to make a few more moves. I think particularly they need to look for one more receiver, just one more reliable guy that they can rely on. I know as a Seahawks fan that Tyler Lockett is still available. As much as I'd love to keep him, he's not washed. So the Bills could look at him. The Bills could look at Stephon Diggs in a return. They could look at a lot of different people, or they could draft someone. But I think they're just one receiver away from getting Josh Allen back to the big stage. And that's exactly what you want out of a teammate in the locker room. You want somebody who's willing to do what's best for the team. So,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I just hope that one day Josh Allen can finally get over that Patrick Mahomes kryptonite hump. It's getting ridiculous at this point. It seems like every year they find a way just to lose it. They're just selling the Bills. I don't know what to say. I just hope finally we get to see Josh Allen in the big stage in the Super Bowl. So hopefully that one receiver, as Rami said, maybe potentially Stephon Diggs, someone else could get him over the hump.
Well, to shift the conversation a little bit, and Breck, I'm coming to you. The NFL draft is crazy. We don't know who the number 1 pick's going to be.
Right.
We don't even know where Travis Hunter is going to fall. Hopefully not the Patriots. Probably going to be. But who do you think is going to be the number 1 pick?
I think you have to give it to Travis Hunter. I mean,
Really?
he's
Not a QB.
No, I don't think so. I like Travis Hunter. There's been a lot of differing opinions out there. It's a guy that can play 2 ways. It's a guy who's a freak athlete, absolute game changer. Honestly, somebody you can build a team around. That's the way I see it.
Rami?
Listen, I don't disagree with Travis. I think he's a fantastic player. But I can't see how the Titans get first pick and then they end up not going with Abdul Carter. I think he's a more reliable first overall pick, excuse me. He's absolutely been dominant at Penn State, and I think that he'd be a great fit for this Titans team. Like you've seen with Myles Garrett, an edge rusher is somebody that you can just keep for as long as possible because you absolutely need one of those. And so I think with this Titans rebuild, I think that he would be a great start for that. I don't really think they need to get into the quarterback space with Will Levis. I think he's fine. He just needs to kind of develop his QB awareness. But overall, I think Carter would be a great pick there. The Browns, I have no idea who they're going to take. I think the Patriots are a lock at Travis Hunter if the Browns don't take him. And then Shador could be with the Giants, I think, is how that's going to shake out.
Okay, let's do a quick shock round. Biggest shock of the draft. Let's start with you, Mark.
Ooh, I say Travis Hunter falls to the Patriots. I don't know if that'd be much of a shock, but Patriots sitting at 4. I think Travis Hunter is something we've never seen before. Someone who could play cornerback and be a wide receiver, which I think they're going to use him just in red zone purposes, not to tire him out. So hopefully, as a Patriots fan, hopefully that'll be the shock that happens.
I hope not. Rick.
As much as I want to say Abdul Carter falling to the Eagles,
Wow.
I can't.
Wow.
You think he like broke his knee or something? I'm sure
it was in question when he possibly had to get surgery on his foot, but he opted out of that.
True.
That's out of the picture now.
Rami, let's hear your shock.
But I do think my shock of the draft would likely be Shador Sanders not going top 10.
Okay, I see that. I see that.
If Teteroya McMillan falls to 18, I think Seattle's going to draft him. And he shouldn't fall to 18. He's probably the best receiver in the draft. He's tall. He's fast. He can haul in those 50-50 balls that you want. He's been dominant in Arizona, and I would be absolutely shocked because that's the exact guy that Seattle needs. But we're at pick 18. There's no way he goes to pick 18. I think that a lot of teams in the NFL could look for this type of receiver. So if he falls to 18, that'd be my biggest shock.
Well, my biggest shock is someone makes a draft day move for the number 1 pick. Panel, thank you for joining me. More on the latest in GW Sports. Correspondent Brittany LaVecchia is standing by. Brittany?
Thanks, Spencer. A10 season is here for women's lacrosse. They were on the road last week in a head-to-head game against VCU. The Revs were tied up 4-4 by the second quarter, but the Rams found a rhythm, netting a 9-3 advantage over the Revs, ending with a 9-point lead. Attackers Katie Fullawan, Everly Kessler, and midfielder Haley Bolton paced the offensive, each netting 2 goals and combining for 13 shots. Grace Curry scored for GW, getting on the board for the first time. The Revs are 5-4 overall and 0-3 in conference play. They will return to the Vern to take on UMass next. GW baseball kicked off A10 play with a tough loss to Fordham. After a slow start to the game, the Revolutionaries fell to the Rams 2-3. The next day, the teams both took a win in a doubleheader game, leaving the Revs 9-10 this season and 1-2 in A10 play. Senior Shugi Klein pitched well, tossing 3 scoreless innings and allowing 2 hits on 50 pitches, while sophomore Andrew Cutler earned the win, moving him 2-0 this year. Cutler also tossed 3 innings, allowing 2 hits and striking out 2. The Revs return to the Tuck this week, hosting Mount St. Mary's. Women's basketball season wrapped up with the A10 tournament in Henrico, Virginia. After a 64-44 win over Loyola Chicago, women's basketball fell to the Rhode Island team in the second round, 52-41. The Revs finish off their season 13-18 overall. Michaela Adams led the team with 14 points, while Kamari Sims landed 11. Gabby Reynolds ended her all-rookie season with 7 points and 4 rebounds. Back to you, Spencer.
Brittany LaVecchia, thank you. Now let's bring in our panel, Sarah Gores and special esteemed panelist Alex Ashley, to talk more about the F1 season. Well, it's lights out and away we go. We've started off an incredible race to start off the season. Sarah, let's hear it.
Well, Australia was definitely an interesting race. We kind of knew it was going to be a little bit of carnage going in. We saw that there was going to be a little bit of weather, but a lot of the teams really just got hammered by that inconsistent weather, and a lot of the strategies fell through, as we saw with the Ferrari.
What was the biggest strategy fail during that race, do you think?
Ferrari.
Yeah. No, I would have to go with
Ferrari.
the same, because you can question maybe Haas and a few other teams, but I think Ferrari 100% missed an opportunity that was just golden and set up for them. Not taking Lewis and Charles out like beforehand, before the safety car, was definitely a big mistake for them.
Honestly, I kind of like the move of leaving them out. The problem was that they brought them in after. They talked a lot about it on the broadcast that they should have left them out. Like once you make that move, you got to stick to it. If it sucks, it sucks. That's the move. And the fact they brought him in, put him back towards the back of the pack, and then they end up, P8, P9, I think it was. Like that's, struggling. I mean, Hamilton's definitely getting a great taste, known as Ferrari's strategy team. Who was your biggest shock this race, Alex?
I think Lance Stroll. I think it has to be. I think Aston was off the pace during the preseason testing. I think overall, after their fade at the end of last season, we expected, if anyone, Fernando to maybe get a P10. I think Lance being in the top 10 and well within it, actually, was a pretty big surprise and some good news for them starting the season. I know they have a lot of new developments with their team coming in, but maybe we'll see them kind of resurge to what they were at the beginning of 2 seasons ago.
What about you?
I think I'd got to say with Kimi Antonelli. I mean, we saw a little bit of the rookie curse happen here in Australia with, 4 or 5 rookies getting knocked out. And him being able to survive and get that P4 spot was very, very impressive.
P4 in the last lap, too.
Exactly.
Like, that was impressive.
And his last overtake on that last lap was a beauty.
And it meant 3-4 for Mercedes,
Exactly.
which is pretty big for them, especially coming off of some of their disappointing races last season. So I think that's a good start for the Mercedes team that really since 2021 has been a non-factor in the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, also it shows that car is developed.
Oh,
Or is more developed, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that car used to bump. Like, the amount of memes I've seen of people putting it to EDM music and saying this is what a club looks like in Europe, like, that's absurd. And the fact they got it all working out, they start off the year P3, P4.
They're still the second fastest team with a Mercedes engine.
They are still the second fastest team in Mercedes engine.
True that.
And what a heartbreak. What a heartbreak for McLaren. You had a 1-2 going into 6 to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And just calamity after calamity.
And in a home race for
And a
Oscar,
home
no
race.
MLS.
Oh, that was
You could
brutal.
hear all the fans just get so sad as soon as he drifted out. It was when he touched the gravel, everyone in the crowd was gone.
Well, we have another race coming up, though.
You do.
What's happening? What do we think is gonna happen? Is Max going to win a race? Is Max going to fall further behind in the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship? What do you think?
Well, maybe it's China, so we got multiple straightaways.
Yeah, that's
so.
very true. I think the one thing here is this Red Bull car just isn't on pace with the McLaren right now. But the thing that Max has going for him is he's an amazing driver. So he just has to wait to see when Oscar or Orlando make mistakes and slides through. It's the exact same thing that he did in Australia on that first lap, swiping around Oscar after he made a mistake. So I think if he just keeps on them and stays that thorn in their side, that he'll be able to stay a contender.
Yeah.
So let's think about it more like this. It's multiple long straightaways here. That's going to help cars like the Williams car. That's going to help cars like the Aston Martin car. Honestly, I think my big take for this race is going to be we're going to see both of them score high points. I think both Williams drivers are going to be between 4 and 6, and I think both Aston Martin drivers are going to be between 5 and 7. I think we're
What
going to
about
see
3 and 6? Think Sainz could get a podium for Williams?
I could see it, but I mean, we still got 2 very fast McLaren cars. We have both Mercedes cars looking fast.
And you have Hamilton becoming comfortable in the Ferrari. I mean, that was his big critique of this weekend. One, figuring out the strategy with Ferrari, which can be a big hamper in his side. But the nice thing is that this time he'll have a little bit more experience in that car, and also hopefully it won't be as weather crazy. So he'll actually get to have a chance to be really consistent in that car.
And hopefully Leclerc isn't sitting in a pool of water. Great take by our engineers.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it kind of makes the sport fun.
Oh,
Hearing these
yeah.
conversations, I think it's honestly improved like motorsports as a whole. Being able to talk, like hearing what the engineers and drivers have been saying to each other, I think is awesome.
Yuki radio is great.
Yeah. Well, now they can't swear
Yeah, I was gonna
anymore,
say,
so
so-
Yuki's radio isn't
He's so-
accurate
he's so
anymore.
well.
I mean, we'll see if Yuki ends up, breaking that rule pretty quick. I mean,
Lando did in the cool-down room.
He did.
he did.
On camera. That was funny, too.
Gonna get a nice big fine. I mean,
Yeah.
like let's obviously it's early. Obviously, we have a lot of hot takes about it. Who do you think is going to end up both the driver's champion after one race, as well as the constructor's champion?
After one race. Okay, so I definitely think I'm pretty confident with constructors going to McLaren. I think the drivers is where it's going to get a little bit more competitive. I mean, no one's talking about him, but George Russell, like, no one talked about him the entire race for Australia, and he still pulled out a podium. And so you still kind of have to keep an eye on him. But for me, I think it could definitely go to Lando. Like, I think this is the season where he's really locking in. He's being very, very serious about his training and is with a car that works with him. It's a car that he's very compatible with, and we can see that he's improving.
Well, I would say Lando because I want it to change from Verstappen, but he hasn't been in a close fight for a long period of time before. Last year at the end of the season, he sort of started catching up and there was maybe a little bit of a chance, 1%. I think when it actually comes down to it, and if it's him and Max, something like 2007 where it's down to the last race and is Kimi gonna win, I think there's too much pressure there that he just hasn't dealt with yet. And so I think it will be McLaren constructor, but I think Max wins out the rest of this era, and then new cars next year might
new
change the
regulations.
playing field.
Cadillac coming.
Yep.
I think it's it.
Well, panel, thank you so much. Unstoppable's Alex Ashley sat down earlier with Chris Caputo to discuss NIL and the evolving transfer portal. Take a look.
Joining the show now, GW men's basketball coach Chris Caputo. Coach, thanks so much for being here. I want to start with how the season is going so far. And right now, you actually have more wins than pretty much any season this program has had since 2016 to 2017. What explains that sudden turnaround from even your past 2 years here?
Yeah, well, as we've talked about in the past here, I think, GW's been really good in basketball for 25 years, early 90s to 2016, winning the NIT championship. A lot of pride around the program with the university and the university community. When I get the job in 2022, it's probably the strangest time to take a job as a new head coach with NIL and revenue sharing and the transfer portal. And we've worked very hard from that moment to not only build a program that the university can be proud of and have some of those wins like in the past, but also build the foundation of something that can be very sustainable that we can do for another 25 years after this. So we're not done yet. I'm proud about the progress we've made. We've done all of it without Garrett Johnson, who arguably one of our best players, if not our best player, and yet there's a lot more work to be done, but I think we've taken a nice step forward.
And let's talk about some of those transfer players. This year, Rafael Castro, Gerald Drumgoole. How do you identify those types of impact makers who are two of your top scorers this season in the portal, bring them in and make them adapt to the culture of the team?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we had some familiarity with those guys prior, and there's going to be some of that where you might have recruited a guy out of high school, or his high school coach or his AAU coach or what have you. The hardest thing is not the numbers. The numbers in the film you can get pretty quickly and you can watch, and within 24 hours you can have a sense of how good of a player the guy is. I think the hardest thing to do is to understand their character, right? To understand, are they going to fit in at GW? Are they going to fit in within our program? They're going to represent the program the right way. You've got to do a lot of intel there. It's like NBA scouting, intel scouting on steroids. In 24, 48 hours, everyone on staff is on the phone with all sorts of people trying to figure out, okay, what makes this guy tick? What's he all about? And we've been fortunate for the most part. We've hit it with the guys that we brought in, and certainly with Rafael and Gerald. They're not only really good players, but I think they're really good people too.
And another added part of this equation for you is the Fog Collective, which has been established somewhat recently. How has that organization helped both attract talent and make sure that talent stays and continues to be happy at this school?
Yeah, I mean, it started, when we first got here, spring of 22, there was no collective. We needed to take, probably 6 months at that point, 8 months to try to figure out, okay, what are the best practices? What is the best way in environment to build out a collective that made sense, and we raised money, and we were able to then deploy that money into NIL for the players. To bring a guy like James Bishop back off a first-team All-League season and try to attract some other players. Certainly wasn't enough to do what we feel like we needed to do, but it was enough to help us stabilize the program. It's done a good job in terms of helping us this year as well. And now the shift will go probably away from the collective and towards the revenue sharing, like it will for all of college athletics. So it's a new chapter. In some ways, the collective was kind of a stopgap between the old and now what the new will become.
And with that revenue sharing, there's going to become more money all over. Another article in the VCU local newspaper talked about how most VCU basketball players are expecting to make six figures, some as high as in the 300,000 range after that revenue sharing. I want to read you this quote from Nick Saban, of course, a football coach, but he had strong feelings about this. He said, "All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. It was always about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life." Do you think all this money changes the fundamentals of coaching?
Yeah, I think everyone's in favor of the money. I think it was illegal not to pay players for their name, image, and likeness. I have no problem with anybody being paid, nor do I think Coach Saban did. What I do think is the transfer portal has created this transient environment. I think what Coach Saban's talking about as it relates to development is, recruiting a young person when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, getting to know them, getting to know their families. And then when they come to your program, they're there 4 years, maybe even a fifth year, and you've been a part of this person's life, trying to get them to become better at basketball, but also help them academically, help them socially, help them grow into a really impressive person, and then set them out into the world where they've gotten a great family background, but then also a great background at the university to help them do all the things that they want to do in their lives, become the best version of themselves. You just don't get that if guys are coming in and out of the program. So you try to do the best you can while they're there, knowing that this environment probably doesn't allow this to happen for years and years.
And I want to bring up an example of a player here, Darren Buchanan, transferred in and now has stayed here for another season, doing DC outreach with his legendary Experiences basketball camp. How do you try and replicate that experience where someone comes here, decides it's a fit, stays?
Yeah, we always said we want and obviously with the work that Darren's done is really incredible for a young person to be thinking in those terms. We want the portal to work for us, not against us. We want to create a great environment here. We know we're going to be in the portal like everyone else. We want it to work for us, and then we want to be able to create the environment both with what we're doing in revenue share, both what we're doing in the culture of the program, the culture of the university. We obviously know this is a great place to go to school and live, where they don't want to leave. And if we can be competitive in terms of the revenue share piece, that we will be able to maintain some continuity of our roster while using the portal to supplement that in our favor.
And I want to just go over some numbers here as of right now and what we're looking at with the revenue sharing. For right now, the median payroll for Power 5, though it's really Power 4, is about $750,000. The CEO of Student Athlete NIL expects that to double to about $1.5 million next season. Cooper Flagg, arguably one of the top players, he's making an estimated $4.8 million. And within your own conference, Fordham coach Keith Ergo said, in the rest of the Atlantic 10, you have multiple teams that have high major type NIL budgets of over $2 million and several over $1 million. How do you compete or join schools with that type of funding to make sure that the A10 and other conferences are a level playing field?
Yeah, I think, it's just an institutional commitment. It starts with, our leadership, our administration, our board, our athletic administration. It's going to be, everyone in the A10 is going to have a choice to make. And certainly we're going to feel like we're going to be very competitive going forward, that there's going to be an institutional commitment to sharing the revenue. And, we feel pretty good about the place we're going to be in, and the numbers are going to change every year as they do, and you're just going to have to pay attention to that as best we can. I think where we're really in a position of strength is we're not dealing with football. Even the Power 4 football programs, the basketball programs at those schools are competing with their own football programs for the revenue. And so, I think it does actually very well position us the Atlantic 10, along with the Big East, as leagues that are not doing this at the football level, and that their sole focus is going to be the basketball programs. The other sports, there may be a market, but it's not going to be to the level of what a men's basketball or women's basketball program is going to be at.
And the last question I have for you as we're wrapping up, you mentioned GW last made the tournament in 2014. Last year, 2 A10 schools made it. Obviously, Duquesne with the auto bid, and then Dayton with an at-large. Do you think, at least until revenue sharing is here, which may level it a bit, do you think that the money in sports is making it more difficult for smaller conferences to compete when it comes to March? And is the age of Cinderella over?
Yeah, I would hope not. You know, I was a part of the George Mason run to the Final Four, and it was actually a part of the Loyola run to the Final Four because they beat us when we were at Miami. I think, one, I do think the revenue share is going to really benefit the schools that are all in on basketball, which could ultimately help. I also think at the end of the day that the metrics have been built out now. There's been a shift to build the metrics that they do favor the high major programs, the predictors there. But I also think, as I said, I think the A10 is tremendously positioned to, you know, not only continue to get multiple bids, but win games in the tournament. When you look at Duquesne and Dayton make the NCAA tournament, both win a game. Neither of them won our regular season last year. And that's how competitive the Atlantic 10 is and will continue to be, and I think only get better with where we're going revenue share as a league. And so, you know, if given the opportunities, we know the schools in our league will compete not only, you know, to get spots in the NCAA tournament, but to win games. And I said that after I think last year's media day. I said, hey, I've been in a league like the Colonial where we got 3 teams in and we won a game in the tournament. VCU goes to the Final Four. But Old Dominion lost at the buzzer to Butler, who wound up going to the national championship game. This league looks eerily similar in terms of the depth of talent. And so we're right there. We just got a little bit of work to do on our end at GW to become the best version. We're getting closer now with Ellen Granberg, with Michael Lippitz, with our board. Like, we're getting closer to becoming the best version of ourselves where we can be one of those teams that's competing for that every year.
So you're going dancing again?
I hope soon, yeah.
Coach, thanks so much for joining the
thanks,
show.
Alex. Yep.
Welcome back to Top 10 Unstoppable Plays. I'm Rami Nash Jr.
And I'm Ethan Jaw, and we are so excited to show you another special live edition of Top 10 Plays. Let's get into it with number 10, where Team India cricket player Rohit Sharma scored boundary after boundary for 76 total runs. He ended up being named player of the match in a winning effort against New Zealand for the ICC Champions Trophy.
This is an absolute electric match. Anytime that cricket hits my TV, I know I got to start watching. So absolutely electric match there. Coming in at number 9, there's a buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter. Bang, all the way coming in, and the Celtics would go on for a win, 104-96 against the Nets. They would end up clinching a playoff spot with this win. So excited what they see in their 11th straight postseason.
Absolutely. Coming up at number 8, Ovechkin got his 887th goal of his entire career just a couple days ago, and what's that? We're just getting something. Yes, it is official. Ovechkin actually got his 888th goal just a couple minutes ago. That puts him 7 away from the all-time record of Gretzky.
An absolute amazing record. Moving on to number 7, we have Donovan Mitchell flying in the Spider, dunking over the entire team. The Cavs look absolutely amazing.
And konnichiwa, Tokyo. Shohei Ohtani is in town. The Tokyo series had an absolute bomb from Shohei Ohtani. It scraped the top of the stadium. That's how incredible it was. People called fan interference on it, but come on. It's Ohtani in Tokyo. Of course they're going to call it a home run.
He's got a new nickname, The Show. Coming in at number 5, we got the Ant-Man driving in and dunking over Walker Kessler, not Jumper Kessler, so as we've seen that play, but what a dunk from Anthony Edwards.
Now, a few things outdo dunks in the NBA, but one play does. Right here, James Harden absolutely cooks Evan Mobley on the perimeter, on the ISO, gets the basket while leaving him in the dust.
Looking like MVP James Harden. Coming in at number 3, we got March Madness action. Trey Donaldson from Michigan gets a 1-second go-ahead layup to put them over the top of UMD. They would end up going on to win this game, helping their seed, and now I hope they win in my bracket.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens. Another very, very popular March Madness moment, a March Madness ending, our first one of the entire tournament. A beautiful quarterback-style pass from South Alabama as they went on to have the ultimate honor of losing to Auburn later this afternoon. Absolute tragedy.
What a pickup for City.
Now, before we go, I thought there's one thing that we need to address.
What's that?
March Madness is happening. It is the prime of March Madness. 16 games today and tomorrow. I thought it'd be perfect to show the people at home our brackets.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You want to go first?
I'd be happy to.
Absolutely.
Now, my bracket has actually fared pretty well. According to ESPN, I'm in the 98th percentile of the entirety of all people who submitted the brackets, and number 1 in the unstoppable bracket competition. I had a couple of good wins today, of course. I think my favorite one, which I think we both shared, was the McNeese upset against Clemson. Clemson almost came back.
That was epic. And listen, that manager, Amir Khan, so much aura, that guy. So absolutely so much fun to watch that. Yeah, no, I mean, I was a little upset. I have Omaha tonight in the huge upset against St. John's, so we'll see. But tell me who you have in your Final Four real quick.
My Final Four, man, it is an exciting bunch. I should say one thing. Michigan, Arizona, Florida, and Kentucky. They're going to be the absolute electric teams this entire season. You see this right here? Florida's going to be the ultimate champions. But the truth is, without these 4 teams, none of it would be possible.
What a pick. All right, and my Final Four, just bear with me here. I have Iowa State, Duke, of course, the flag show, Houston, and UMD, all right? And then I have ISU versus Duke in the final, and of course, give me Cooper Flag, give me that snack team, give me Duke for the national champions. You've seen it here. I'm currently 5th place in the Unstoppable Bracket Challenge, so maybe Ethan's the better one on this one. But hey, thank you so much for watching Top 10 Plays. I'm Rami.
And I'm Ethan.
And have a wonderful night.
Bye-bye.